Okay, welcome back to another video on the Maths channel. It's your teacher, Mr. Lim here. In this video, we're going to go through the Blacktown Boys 2023 trial exam for Maths Standard 2. I have not done this exam before, so if I do make any mistakes, or if I do get stuck and take my time, I apologize. Alright, let's start with multiple choice. Which of the following graphs would represent the negative skewed data? So negatively skewed data means that the tail is pointing towards the negative numbers. And here you can see the tail is pointing towards the negative numbers, so the answer is A. Okay, in question option B, tail is pointing towards the positive numbers. C is normally distributed or symmetrical. And D is none of the above. For question 2, we've got Suleiman and Ahmed work in supermarket A. And each earned $800 last week. Suleiman worked 4 more hours than Ahmed and was paid double time for these hours. What is Ahmed's hourly wage if Suleiman is paid an hourly wage rate of $20? So Suleiman, he normally gets $20 per hour. We don't know how many, maybe I'll use N for number of hours worked at that normal rate. Plus, he gets double time, so $20 times 2 for 4 hours, and then he earns $800. So from here we can see that 20N plus 2 times 4 is 8 times 20 is 160. So 20N must be equal to 640. So N is equal to 32. So that's the normal hourly rate. Or normal hours worked. So for Ahmed, since he works for 32 hours at some unknown rate, we can call that X, and earn $800, we can divide 800 by 32. 25. So the answer should be C. Question 3. The stem and leaf plot represents the daily sales of car parking tickets from a vending machine. One of the numbers, 65, was left out of data displays. Which statistical measure is most affected by the addition of this score to the data? So 65 would be over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So halfway, the median would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, would be 66. But if we add 65, then the median will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 will be here, which will be 65.5. So I'm thinking it's probably the median. It doesn't affect the mode, it doesn't affect the range. So it might affect the mean. But we have a look at this. Maybe it's best to work out what the mean is. So if I were to not include the 65, let's just see what the mean would be. 62, 64. And that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 67. So if the mean before the 65 was added is 67, if we add 65 and then divide it by 12, then the mean would now be 67.08. So it's not much of a change. So I reckon the answer is median. Right. Marco invested $40,000 at a rate of 4.8% per annum, compounded every 6 months, so that's twice a year. How much interest did Marco earn on his investment over 5 years? So we want interest. So we got 40,000 is our present value, so maybe we'll just write this down. Future value is equal to present value 1 plus r to the power of n. So that's 40,000 times 1 plus 4.8% divided by 2, because it's twice a year, for 5 years times 2 to work out how many 6 months lots there are. And so we can see that this 4.8% is technically 2.4% when we divide it by 2. So that's 40,000 times 1.024 to the power of 10. So that's our future value, but the question asks how much interest he earned. So interest is future value minus present value, which is just that minus the 40,000. So the answer should be B. Question 5. James collects data and draws a scatter plot showing the age and value for cars. He also draws a line of best fit. What is the likely correlation coefficient of the two variables? So because it's sloping down, it should be negative. So that tells me it's not C or D because they're both positive. Option A says negative 0.95. Now that tells me it's very strong, which indicates that the scores should be closer to the line of best fit. So in my opinion, because they're more spread out, it should be B, minus 0.67. It was found that the greater number of hours a person spends revising his work, the higher the marks he obtains in the examination. Which of the following types of correlations will best describe the relationship in the statement above? So to me that's positive. Okay, the more hours you spend, the higher the marks. So if this is hours and this is marks, the more hours, the more marks. So that's a positive. The compass bearing of B from A, so from north of A, is north 38 degrees east. What is the true bearing of A from B? So from B means from north of B in a clockwise direction. So because this is 38, we know this bit here is 38 because alternate angles are equal in parallel lines. So the true bearing is just 180 plus 38, which is 218. Question 8. Mark invested $1,450 in an account which pays 12% per annum interest compounded quarterly on the 1st of February 2021. He added a further $1,280 to the account on the 1st of February 2022. How much money does he have in the account on 1st of February 2023? Okay. So, future value. 1450, 1 plus 12% divided by 4 because it's compounded quarterly for 1 year. Then he adds $1,280. So I'm going to write here future value after 1 year. So let's put that in the account. 1450 bracket 1 plus 12% over 4 for the 1 year plus 12. Oh no, sorry, I need to do that to the power of 4 because there's 4 quarters in that year. Then I need to plus 1280. So that's 2911.99. How much money does he have in the account on 1st of February 2023? So at the end of the second year, we've got this amount, and that's being compounded at 12% quarterly for 4 quarters or 1 year, 1 more year. So answer times 1 plus 3277.47. C. Which of the following best represents the graph of y equals minus 3x plus 4? So because the gradient is negative, we know it's sloping down, and it's got a y-intercept of 4. So it looks like it's A, that's sloping up, so it's not B. It's not D, that's sloping up. And C has a y-intercept of negative 3, so it's not that. So it's A. When the equation y equals 3 minus 2w over 6 is transposed to make w the subject, the result is. So we want to make w by itself. So I'm first going to multiply by 6. I'm now going to subtract 3. And now I'm going to divide by negative 2. So w will equal to 6y minus 3 over negative 2. Now none of these options have a negative 2 in the denominator. So what that means is I will need to change the sign of everything at the top of this fraction. So w will equal to minus 6y plus 3 over 2. So which one is that? It would be C. There were 140 students who completed an assessment task. The maximum mark was 40. Which of the following statements is false? 30 students scored a mark less than 10. So because there were 140 and each of these represents a quartile, which is 25%, then I want to know what 140 divided by 4 is. So that's 35. So 35 students scored between 5 and 10. 35 students scored between 10 and 15. 35 between 15 and 30, and 35 between 30 and 40. So A is false, because less than 10 should be 35. Let me just check the other options, just to be safe. The distribution of the scores is positively skewed. So because 35 scored between 5 and 10, and 35 scored between 10 and 15, that's a lot of students, that's half of them. So it looks like there's a lot of people who scored around quite badly, and then less people. So that is positively skewed. The median is 15, that's correct, because that's my Q2. This is Q2, this is Q1, and this is Q3. And 105 students achieved a score greater than the lower quartile. So this is our lower quartile of 10. So 35 plus 35 plus 35 is 105, so that is true. Alright, question 12. Which statement is correct? A minimum spanning tree must contain a loop. That's false. Minimum spanning tree must contain a cycle. That's false. Every network has only one minimum spanning tree. That's false. There could be multiple. And D, a minimum spanning tree has one more vertex than the number of edges. That's true. Okay, question 13. The graph of y equals 2 on x is a hyperbola. So you need to be able to recognize these. So what I like to do is, because we've got hyperbola looks like this, right? So that sort of looks like a fraction, something over something, which is what this is. So that's a good, helpful way of identifying that that's a hyperbola. Okay. 14. Shiv invests money for 3 years at 2% per half year compounded every half year. Using the table, which figure should Shiv use to calculate his investment? So 2% per half year. That tells me it's 4% per year. Compounded every half year. And because it's compounded every half year, we should be using this one. 2%. For 3 years, well, 3 years is equal to 6 lots of half years. Because 1 year has 2, the next year has another 2, and the third year has another 2. So that's 2% with 6. Should be 1.126. And last multiple choice, Tom and Jack decided to remove the fence between their individual properties and join the two properties. Tom has 160 cows and Jack has 120 cows. They plan to divide the profit for the year in the same ratios as the number of cows. So Tom to Jack is 160 to 120. If they make a profit of $2,800 for the year and have $500 on maintenance, how much does Jack get? Okay, so profit of $2,800, they need to spend $500, so that means there's only $2,300 to split. So altogether, that's $280. They only have $2,300 to split. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 2,300 divided by 280 and then times it by 120. $985.71, so I'm assuming this is to the nearest dollar. $986. Okay. Jacob drives Sydney to Nara 4 days in a week. He travels 520 kilometers in total. The fuel consumption of the car is 5.5 liters per 100 k's. If fuel costs $1.89 per liter, calculate the cost for that week. Okay. So we got 5.5 out of 100 times 520. That will tell us how many liters of petrol they use. 28.6 liters of petrol. So the cost will be $1.89 times 28.6. $54.05. The toll fee for a car to travel on a motorway in 2023 is $8.20. It is projected that due to inflation, the cost of the toll fee will increase by 3% each year. Calculate the cost of the toll fee in 5 years' time. So this is a future value question. It's $8.20 now. 1 plus 3% to the power of 5. $9.51. Jimmy bought a new car for $34,000. The dealer told Jimmy that on the average, the value of cars depreciate at 14% per annum. Based on the information, calculate the salvage value of the car after 5 years. So salvage value is the value at time 0 times 1 minus r to the power of n. So the value at time 0 is the 34,000. Depreciates at a rate of 14% per annum for 5 years. So it'll be worth $15,994.52. All right. Question 17. Eric is 7 years old. He weighs 25.6 kilos and needs to have the correct dosage of cough syrup. The dosage D is calculated using the formula below, where M is the mass of the child in kilograms and A is the adult dosage. If the adult dosage is 20 mils twice a day, how many days will a 200 milliliter bottle last for? Alright, so dosage is 25.6 kilos. So 20 mils twice a day, how many days will 200 mils? Okay, so that makes me need to say that the adult dosage per day is 40 mils. Okay, that's 20 times 2. Divide that by 70. is 14.63. 14.63 milliliters. So I think we just need to now divide that 200 by that answer. 200 divided by 14.63 is equal to 13.67 days, which is approximately equal to 14 days. Right, question 18. Jonathan invests $38,750 in an account, earning 3% per annum interest compounded annually for 4 years. Calculate the total amount of interest earned. So this is compound interest, so I'm using my future value formula. Compounded annually, so I don't need to divide that 3% by anything, to power 4. $43613.47. Interest is future value minus present value. So it's just that 43613.47 minus the 38750, which is 4863.47. Calculate the annual percentage rate of simple interest that would produce the same amount of interest. So simple interest, the rate is I over Pn. If the same interest is earned, we should times that by 100 to turn it into percentage. And our principal is 38,750 for 4 years. And then we can times that by 100 to turn it into percentage. So that's that over 38,750 times 4 times 100 is 3.14%. per annum. Solve the equation. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. I'm going to add 2. I'm going to divide by 5. Question 20. A box contains 11 chocolates, 7 contain fruits, that's B, and the rest of the chocolates contain nuts, that's W. Daniel randomly selects one of them and eats it. John then randomly chooses and eats one of the remaining chocolates. A partially completed tree diagram is shown below. Complete the tree diagram and calculate the probability of selecting 2 different chocolates. So, if the 7 out of 11 contain fruits, then 4 out of 11 contain nuts. Now, if you've eaten one of the 7, that leaves only 6 out of 10 left. Or there are still 4 with nuts out of 10. But if the first person ate one with nuts, then there's only 3 out of 10 left with nuts. And there's still 7 out of 10 that contain fruits. Calculate the probability of selecting 2 different chocolates. So 2 different chocolates means getting B then W, or W and then B. So that's 7 out of 11 times 4 out of 10. That's our BW. 7 over 11 times 4 over 10. Or, so I'm going to add W times B. 4 out of 11 times 7 out of 10. (28/55). Question 21. The diagram below represents a park, which runs along a creek in a suburb of Western Sydney and has an irregular boundary line. Use two applications of the trapezoidal rule to estimate the area of the park correct to the nearest square meter. So because this is 1.3, half of that is 0.65, so that's 0.65 and that's 0.65. Okay, just 1.3 divided by 2. And so if I'm going to use a trapezoidal rule, I like to use h over 2, the distance of the first plus the distance of the last plus twice times the sum of the middle. Okay, so this is the formula that I like to use. So the height is 0.65 because all of these are the parallel lines, which are these ones. These are parallel. So that makes the other one, these are the heights. So 0.65 is the height of each trapezium. Okay, so we want the height of each trapezium. So 0.65 over 2. The first, we can say this is the first, 1.25. The last will therefore be this one, 0.75 plus 2 lots of the sum of the middle. The middle is just 0.9, so that's all we need. And so now we can put this in the calculator. (1.25) plus 0.75 plus 2 times 0.9. And that's 1.235 square kilometers. Now the question says correct to the nearest square meter. So I might just convert this into square meters. So kilometers. So if I want to convert that into square meters, I need to times that by 1,000 squared. So let's times this by 1,000 squared, which is 1,235,000 square meters. Question 22. The number of days D to complete a research project is inversely proportional to the number of researchers R who are working. So D is equal to K over R. Okay, inversely proportional, we should be thinking Y equals K on X. The research project takes 123 days to complete when there are 7 people working on it. So 123 days when 7 people are working on it. So that tells me that K is equal to 123 times 7, 861. Find the equation relating D and R. So that tells us that D is equal to 861 over R. Question 23. The internet provides a large platform which enables us to share data. On a specific app, the circulation of data grows exponentially according to the function D is equal to 20 times 1.3 to the power T, where D units is the amount of data circulated after T hours. What is the initial amount of data? So initial means when T is equal to 0. So that's 20 times 1.3 to the power 0, which should just be 20. Complete the table of values to the nearest whole number. So when T is 0, we've got D is 20. When T is 2, we've got 33.8. So the nearest whole number will be 34. 57, and 97. Sketch the graph on the grid provided below. So we have 0, 20, 234, 457, and 697. Alright, so you can see this exponential. Alright, let's just put arrows. Use the graph to estimate the amount of data after 7 hours. So after 7 hours, maybe we should continue. Okay, it looks like after 7 hours, it might be 140. So I'm using the graph, 140. Now if I wanted to double check, I would probably put 7 into this. I just want to see 125. But according to my graph, it's 140, so I'm just using my graph. So that should be fine. Tom wanted to take his dog for a walk. He wished to walk only on the footpath. Along which path should Tom take his dog to cover the shortest distance if he starts at A and finishes at J? So it starts at A, wants to finish at J. What's the shortest way to get there? Okay, so I would probably just eyeball this. Let's try this way. So that would be 300 plus 400, 400, 500, and 400. So that will be 2000. So let me just write that down. A, D, C, E, I, J is 2000. What about from there to here? What about that method? All right. So it's 300, 500, 400, and 300. That's only 1500. That's probably the shortest one, just by eyeballing it. So I reckon I'll go A to D to F to G to J, because that's 1500. Alright, question 25. One end of an elastic string was attached to a horizontal bar and a mass m grams was attached to the other end. The mass was suspended freely and allowed to settle. The length of the elastic string, L millimeters, was recorded for various masses as follows. Calculate the Pearson's correlation coefficient correct to two significant figures. So Pearson's correlation coefficient, we know that this is bivariate data. So I'm going to press mode, 2 for stat, and bivariate is 2, so I'm going to press 2 for 2 variables. So let's enter these, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, and 600. And the lengths were 228, 236, right, so to get our results from bivariate data, press AC, Shift 1 because that's stats in yellow, where we get all our answers for stats. 5 for regression. And Pearson's correlation coefficient is number 3, it's R, so we press equals. So two significant figures, so that's 0.99. Describe the association between the mass and the length in terms of strength and direction. So this is very strong. So this is strong, positive, linear. Determine the equation of the least squares regression line of L in terms of M. So we can say L is equal to, so okay, maybe we can write y is equal to a plus bx. But instead of y, we're saying L, because when we have a look at this, this is like saying that's x and that's y. So y is L, I'll use lowercase l, and x is m. Alright, so we want to know what A and B are. So again, I'm going to press Shift 1, Stat Mode, 5. A is number 1, so 1 equals 210.6. And B, Shift 1, 5 for regression, and 2 is B, so 2 equals 0.15. I'll just do it to 2 decimal places. And M. Calculate the mass attached to the string if the string length is 275, correct to the nearest gram. So that's my L, because that's string length. So I'm going to use this here. Okay, so 275 is L. That's equal to 210.6 plus 0.15 M mass. So I'm going to just solve this algebraically. So I'm going to minus 210.6 from 275. $64.4. And then I'll divide by 0.5. So divide that by 0.15 give me, let's try it again, 429 grams. Alright, I'm going to put my calculator back into normal mode, so I'm going to press mode and 1. But if you're ever having trouble putting your calculator back into the normal mode, and like let's say your fractions weren't coming out properly, then make sure that you know how to clear your calculator. So Shift 9, because that's CLR's to clear, and just clear all of it. So 3, and yes, I do, so press equals and then AC. Okay, and I'll clear everything for you. Alright, question 26. The table below shows the present value interest factors for some monthly interest rates and loan periods in months. Gnor borrows $22,000 for a car. He arranges to repay the loan with monthly repayments over 4 years. He's charged 7.8% per annum interest. What value will Gnor use from the table to calculate his monthly repayment? So 7.8%. 7.8%, but because it's monthly, we need to divide that by 12. So 7.8 divided by 12 is 0.65%. So that's this column. For 4 years, so 4 years is 48 months. So that's this row. So he'll be using 41.11986. Find Gnor's monthly repayment correct to the nearest cent. So the present value is equal to the monthly repayment times the figure in table. So because he borrows $22,000, that's our present value. The figure in the table is 41.11986. So to get m by itself, we just divide. $535.02 per month. Calculate the amount of interest Gunnar will pay over the term of the loan corrected near a cent. So because he's paying, so total paid, $535.02 per month for 48 months. He's paying a total of $25,680.96. Therefore, interest paid will be that amount minus how much the car is worth. Now the car was worth $22,000, so we need to minus $22,000 from here, which is $3,680.96 in interest. Question 27. Jim is an engineer and earns a salary of $145,000. He has allowable deductions of $22,000. He must also pay a Medicare levy of 2% of his taxable income. Calculate the total tax payable including the Medicare levy. Use the tax table given below. So taxable income is equal to gross income minus allowable deductions. So he earns $145,000. but has $22,000 in allowable deductions, so that's $123,000. So tax payable, $123,000 lies in this tax bracket, so he'll be paying $20,797 plus 37 cents for every dollar, so that's our taxable income, over the $90,000 according to this. So 2797 plus 0.37 bracket 123,000 minus 90,000 is 33,007. The Medicare levy is 2% of the taxable income. We said the taxable income is 123,000. So we got 2% of 123,000, which is 2460, and therefore total tax payable is 33,007 plus 2460. $35,467. During the year, Jim paid $36,000 in pay-as-you-go tax. Is he eligible for a refund? Justify your answer through calculations. So because he has paid $36,000, but he's only meant to pay $35,467, he is meant to get a refund. So yes, he will get a refund. Paid $36,000, meant to pay $35,467. Therefore, will receive a refund of $533. two right-angled triangles, ABC and ACD, are drawn as shown. Show that AC is approximately 8.5 centimeters rounded to one decimal place. So we can see AC is the hypotenuse of this right-angled triangle. So AC is equal to the square root of 3 squared plus 8 squared. Now, because this is a show that question, you need to show you're working out. Okay, show you're working out. 3 squared plus 8 squared, that's 8.54. So 8.5 centimeters to one decimal place. Calculate the size of angle theta correct to the nearest minute. So if this is 8.5, and here we've also got a right angle triangle. 8.5 is the hypotenuse, and 4.9 is adjacent to theta. So we're using cosine. So cosine of theta is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. So that tells us that the angle theta is equal to the inverse cosine of 4.9 over 8.5. And it says to the nearest minute, so I need to press this button here, my degrees, minutes, seconds button. 54 degrees and 48 minutes, because that's 50 seconds. There are 60 seconds in a minute, so that's over halfway, which is 30 seconds. So we round out 47 minutes up to 48. Question 29. The prices of houses sold in Bellbird are recorded. The prices are in thousands of dollars. Calculate the mean of this data set correct to one decimal place. So we could just add them all up. $147, 65, 190, 149. $1902, and there are 11 here, so I'm going to divide that by 11. So $172,909. Cheap. I wish I could get a house for that price. Now, justify your calculations that the minimum house price is not an outlier. So I will probably need to put these in order. So I think 135 is the smallest. Then 147, 149, 164, 165, 178, 182, 184, 190, 198, and 210. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Good. Alright. So, that tells me that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is my quartile 2. And therefore, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 1 is 6. Divided by 2 is 3. 1, 2, 3. This is my quartile 1. And 1, 2, 3. This is my quartile 3. So, in order to determine that the minimum house price of $135,000 is not an outlier, so outlier if less than Q1 minus 1.5 times the interquartile range. So, the interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1, which is 190 minus 149, 41. And so outlier if less than, so outlier if less than. Q1 is 149 minus 1.5 times the interquartile range of 41. 149 minus 1.5 times 41, which is 87.5. And 135 is greater than 87.5. Therefore, minimum house price is not an outlier. All right. Question 30. The diagram represents a network of weighted edges. Lists all the vertices that have a degree of 4. So let's go to degree of 1, because only one edge is connected to it. This one has 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2. So it's C, it's D, and it's F. Draw a minimum spanning tree for this network in the space below showing weighted edges. So the smallest number here I can see is 1. The next smallest is 2. 2. 2. 2. Now this 2 I don't highlight, because if I do, then I will create this cycle. Okay, I'll create an area that I can color in, so I won't do that one. This 2 is fine. And then the next smallest is 3. So I could do that one, I could do this one, but I won't do this one because it will create this area to color in. Alright, so that's it. So there's lots of different answers to this one. So we've got A to B. That's 2. To E. Oh. E is this node. That's 3. D is over here. That's 2. Then F. That's 2. C here is 2. H is 2, and G is 1. Calculate the length of the minimum spanning tree. So now we're just going to add these numbers. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 13, 14. I'm just going to see if there's any, no, there's no unit. So I'll just leave it as 14. 31. Brian lives in Auckland, which is UTC plus 12, and his mother lives in Peru, UTC minus 5. What is the time difference between Auckland and Peru? So, Auckland, Peru, plus 12 minus 5. So we're just going to do 12 minus 5, which is 12 plus 5, 17. So 17 hours. Brian's mother wishes to call him. It is 1 p.m. on Wednesday in Peru. What is the time and day that Brian will receive the call? So it's 1 p.m. Wednesday in Peru. So we've got 1 p.m. which is technically 1300 hours. So that's like 13 o'clock if you wanted to think about that. I'm going to add 17 hours to that. That's more than 24 hours, so I'm going to minus 24 hours. And that tells me that's 6 a.m. So it'll be 6 a.m. the next day, because it's ahead. So I'm going to add, so this is going to become Thursday. Brian's mother flies from Peru to Auckland, leaving at 6 p.m. on Friday, Peru time. The flight takes 19 hours. Determine the day and time in Auckland when Brian's mother will arrive. So I might just draw this again. We got Peru, Auckland. We got 17 hours difference. This is -5 and this is +12. So from Peru, leaving at 6 p.m. on Friday. Determine the day and time in Auckland when Brian's mother will arrive. So that 6 p.m. is technically 18 o'clock. We'll add 17 hours just to see what time in Auckland it is when she left. That's over 24 hours, so I'm going to minus 24 hours. That's 11 a.m. So technically, at 11 a.m. the next day, Saturday, okay, because we've gone over midnight, that's when Brian's mother left in Auckland time. Now it takes 19 hours, so I'm going to add 19 hours to this. Oh, that's more than 24 hours, so I'll minus 24 hours. So that's 6 a.m. The next day, Sunday. So the poor mother didn't even get to have a Saturday. Alright, question 32. Christian opens a new credit card account on 1st of March. He uses it to buy tickets to Bali for $1,050 on 5th of March. The credit card has following conditions. No interest-free period. Interest is charged at 16.25% per annum, compounded daily. From the purchase date included to the last day of the month, included. Christian makes no further purchases or repayments during the month of March. Calculate the interest shown on the credit card statement issued on 31st of March. So, it's a future value question. $1,050. 1 plus 16.25% compounded daily, so we divide that by 365. But we need to work out for how many days this is. So from 5th of March, which is included, till the 31st of March, which is also included. So from the 5th to the 31st, what we need to do is we need to do 31 minus 5, but we need to always add 1 because we need to include that 5th day, or the first day technically. Because if we do 31 minus 5, it won't include that first day. So for example, right, if there were only 2 days, let's say 5th to the 6th, if we were to do 6 minus 5, that's only 1 day, but we need to include both. And we know that we can see that there are actually 2 days. So we need to add 1. Okay, we need to add 1. So we've got 31 minus 5. 31 minus 5 plus 1 is 27. So that tells us there's actually 27 days of interest. Calculate the interest shown. Okay, so this is the future value only. $1,062.69. So the interest shown would be 1,062.69 minus the 1,050. $12.69 will be shown. Question 33. A catering company charges $35 per person for a buffet lunch. The cost to the company is $120 plus $5 per person. The equation to represent revenue is given below. D is equal to 35N, where D is revenue and N is the number of people attending the lunch. Write an equation to represent C in terms of N, where C is the cost. So the cost is $120 plus $5 for every person. Solve the pair of simultaneous equations systematically to find the number of people required to break even. So breaking even means C, the cost is equal to the revenue, C is equal to D, or 120 plus 5N is equal to 35N, because that's what D is equal to. So I'm going to minus 5N from both sides. I'm going to divide by 30. So yeah, they only need 4 people to break even. Four people are required to break even. A freestanding dishwasher has an energy consumption of 294 kilowatt hours per year and uses 10,200 liters of water per year. Energy is charged at 37 cents per kilowatt hour and the cost of water supply is $2.71 per kiloliter. What is the annual cost of using the dishwasher? So cost, we've got 294 kilowatt hours at 37 cents per kilowatt hour, as well as 10,200 liters, which is 10.2 kiloliters, because this is per kiloliter. So I need to take my 10,200 and I need to divide it by 1,000 to turn it to kiloliters. And then times that by $2.71. So 294 times 0.37 plus 10,200 liters divided by 1,000 to turn it into kiloliters times $2.71 is $136.42. Question 35. A table of future value interest factors is shown. Samir starts an annuity that involves making equal contribution of $1,250 per quarter for 2 years at an interest rate of 8% per annum. Use the above table to find the future value of the annuity. So we've got 8% per annum, but it's per quarter, so that's 2% per quarter. 2 years is equal to 8 quarters, times it by 4. So we've got 2% and 8, which is this. So the future value is equal to the annuity times the figure in the table, 8.583. $10,728.75. Calculate the total interest earned on the annuity. Well, if you're paying $1,250 per quarter, then the interest earned is your future value minus how much you put in altogether. Well, you put in $1,250 per quarter for 8 quarters. That's how much of your own money you put in. So we're going to minus the $1,250 times 8. Oops. $1,250 times 8. $728.75. What single amount would Samir have to invest now to achieve the same future value? So present value times 1 plus r to the power of n. So our future value was the 10,728.75. The rate is 8% per annum, but it's per quarter, so we need to divide that by 4. For 2 years, so we need to times that by 4. And so present value is equal to 10,728.75 divided by all of that, which is equal to, let's start again, 10 into 8.75, 1 plus 8% over 4 to the power of 8. 9156.88. Question 36. A closed container which is composed of a cylinder and a hemisphere needs a coat of paint on the outside surface only. If paint covers 5 square meters per liter, determine the number of 5-liter cans of paint needed to paint closed container with one coat. So we need to work out the surface area. We've got the circle, which is pi r squared. We've got the curved surface of the cylinder, which is 2 pi rh. And we've got the curved surface of a hemisphere, so that's half of 4 pi r squared, or just 2 pi r squared. So that's technically 3 pi r squared plus 2 pi rh. Alright. So we got 3 pi times the radius is 2. Okay, because the diameter is 4, so the radius is only 2. You can also see here that radius is 2. Plus 2 pi times 2 times the height, which is 4. $87.96 square meters. So if paint covers 5 square meters per liter, I'm going to divide this by 5. So 87.96 divided by 5 is equal to 17.59 liters of paint required. Determine the number of 5-liter cans we need to buy. So 3 will not be enough. So if I were to divide that by 5, right, we need 3.5 cans. Therefore, 17.59 divided by 5, 3.5 5-liter cans needed. I'm going to round that up because you can't buy half a can. So I'm going to say therefore 4 5-liter cans are needed. Paint costs $65 per 5-liter can. Find the cost of paint for the closed container. So we need to just multiply 4 times 65. $260. Question 37. William and Darren are trying to set up a track in their school for the upcoming athletics carnival. They both start at the same point, C. William walks on a bearing of 320 degrees for 9 meters. So that's 320. Oops, 320. So that's 9 meters. And marks the path using a marking machine. Darren walks on a bearing of 10 degrees for 12 meters and marks his path. Calculate the size of angle WCD. So because that's 320 and a full revolution is 360, that tells me that this is 360 minus 320, that's 40 degrees. So therefore angle WCD must be 50 degrees. 40 plus the 10. Head teacher Mr. Brown suggested to the boys that they mark the track between them. Calculate the distance between the boys to the nearest meter. So we want to work out what this is. So here we've got 3 sides and 1 angle. So we're using the cosine rule. So I can say WD squared is equal to 9 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 lots of 9 times 12 times cosine of 50. Okay, so it's a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine c. So 9 squared $86.16, and so WD is equal to the square root of that, 9.28. So to the nearest meter, 9 meters. So I'm just going to write nearest meter. Nearest meter. Use the sine rule to determine the angle CWD to the nearest degree. So CWD is over here. So we're going to use this sine rule. So that tells me that this matches with the 12 and the 50 degrees matches with the value we just found. So I might just use the 9 since they asked us to calculate it to the nearest meter. So let's just use 9. So I'll say sine theta on 12 is equal to sine of 50 on 9. So sine theta is equal to 12 sine 50 on 9. So theta is equal to the inverse sine of all of that. Which is equal to inverse sine math error. I wonder why. Maybe I need a 9.28. So let's go back up. Let's try inverse sine Okay, so we do need a 9.28. 9.28. Nearest degree, 82 degrees. Calculate the area of triangle WCD correct to the nearest square meter. So area is half AB sine C. Well, we know that that's 9, that's 12, and that's 50. So I'm just going to use those numbers, 9, 12, and 50. Which is 41 square meters to the nearest square meter. And that's it. I hope you found this video helpful. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.